Things to look forward to this weekend. Obviously, more NFL action as we jockey for position, but the Army-Navy game. And I want to say one thing about the Army-Navy game before we sign off here. 6 weeks ago or so, Brad had brought up the idea that had been floated around because of the schedule to possibly take the Army-Navy game out of its own island weekend. And I have a lot of thoughts on that. In college football today, there is not much left that harkens back to an older time, a more simple time, and maybe a more naive time in our world. Army-Navy is representative of so many of those core values that I think this country was founded on. And quite frankly, I think that college football was founded on. When that game is broadcast, the lead up to that game, when it's on, it's not really about the football. It's about the pageantry, the history, the deep emotional connection that people have to the uniforms and the players and the branches of military that are out on that field. And I think that sacrificing that for the playoff to make more money with the playoff would be a huge injustice, because the Army-Navy game, again, it touches so many lives in this country. There are so many people who aren't in the military now, but most likely have a service member who may still be with us or may have passed. My dad was in the Navy. My wife, all of my in-laws, they were in the Air Force. And the Air Force is not represented in this game. And there's something to be said about making the Commander-in-Chief's trophy much more prevalent. But I think that this game and the lead up, the human interest pieces, the traditions, and I think that the spotlight that it gets is really important. I think it's important because, again, it reminds us how we're here, why we're here. We are here because the branches of the military have continued to defend our freedoms, one war after another after another. And the players that are going to play in this game and the players that have played in past games, they have gone and sacrificed time and some their lives to defend this country. And I think that taking it off of a national spotlight and forgetting that, because if we take it off of its own broadcast, it will be done. We won't care about it because society is moving so quick. We won't remember it. We won't care. One thing that's happening in society that I worry about is young people not understanding the history that has come before them. It doesn't mean that you should take the history and never change, never adapt, and just constantly look at that as the golden era. It's just important to understand it. Army-Navy, to me, is representative of that. Army-Navy allows people like me to tell my son, hey, this game means something to people, and here's why. And I think that if you take that away, if you make that not its own island, you're sacrificing American history, you're sacrificing college football history, and I think that you are deciding, overtly deciding, that money is more important than anything. And I don't want to see that happen. So tune into the Army-Navy game. Call or text somebody that you know who deeply cares about this game. Remember people who have served, died for this country. And if they're alive, tell them thanks. Army-Navy game is important, and it's always one of my favorite sporting moments of the year, and I'm looking forward to it.